Mid-year insight session. Today's discussion is designed specifically for promo professionals like yourselves who are looking ahead, planning strategically, and positioning your business for success in the second half of the year. I'm joined by Alok Bhatt, our research and public affairs lead, and two respected industry leaders who bring valuable perspectives from both the distributor and supplier sides. We have Jeffrey Wurtzel, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Halo, Jody Schillinger, Executive Vice President at Maple Ridge Farms. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and expertise contributing to this conversation, and we're ready to kind of start to dig in and get into the details. At PPAI, we've been in constant dialogue with firms in our industry, both on the supplier side and the distributor side. And through surveys, direct interviews, leadership conversations, we've asked some tough questions and some forward looking questions. So we're not just reflecting on the past, but we're really preparing for what's ahead. And what we're starting to see is a clear shift. Many suppliers are facing direct impacts from tariff escalations to sourcing volatility. And then on the other side, distributors continue to feel the ripple effect, whether it's rising costs passed downstream or increasing demands from end buyers who want more transparency, more speed, and more accountability. So the bar almost continues to get higher despite any current operational challenges that are around us. Our goal for today is really to deliver information that's directly relevant to your business, to the way you plan, and some of the strategic insights you can start to use when you're evaluating options for the months ahead. So, if that's sourcing options, how to meet evolving client expectations, and navigating these operational challenges. With that said, we're going to take about 15 minutes for Alok and I to walk through some key trends and discuss what they mean for your business, and then we'll move on to the panel discussion. So with that, we've got the first trend up here. Growth is slowing, and this is probably the clearest signal in our industry right now is the slowdown in growth. Our latest PPAI 100 data shows that sales growth has dropped into the low single digits, and that's before we even adjust for inflation. So while it may look like firms are growing the top line, many are having impact at the bottom line. And that's why some companies are starting to shift their focus. Really, instead of looking to scale, they're trying to protect profit. And since not all firms are created equal, there's a number of different approaches companies can take to protect the bottom line. And Alok is going to walk us through those facts and what the firms are doing. Alok?
Thanks, Melissa. The data shows the trend is both widespread and deep. Nearly 80% of PPI 100 suppliers say that their procurement costs raised in 2025. The margins are not improving. Most firms are seeing flat or declined profitability as their sales hold steady. This tells us that revenue alone is no longer a sign of success. Margin health is a real indicator. One of the PPI 100 supplier told us that they are shipping the same amount of product, but now they need more staff and a higher spend to deliver. Freight delays and custom issues have made each of the order more expensive. So they have started narrowing their product lines. They are now they are now focusing on a higher value order that justifies their effort. You may be feeling the same pressure. Even if the pipeline looks healthy, things like freight charges or the material cost can chip away your bottom line. This is why the growth alone is no longer enough. You need to protect your profits with smarter pricing and better control. Our PPI predictions as we move into the second half of the year expect more firms to build margin in their pricing, invest in tools that help protect profitability. The industry isn't shrinking, it's evolving. Growth is slowed, yes, but the leading firms are adapting with smarter sourcing, pricing discipline, and deeper collaboration. What do you, Melissa?
Thank you. The second trend we're seeing, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't discuss the tariff impacts on global sourcing. So, this is the one theme that dominated supplier sentiment in our latest research. 7 in 10 PPAI 100 suppliers told us that escalating tariffs, especially those related to China, are their top global risk heading into 2026. This is shaping decisions today that will impact supply chains for the future. And it's not a short term pivot. This is really a structural reset of how our industry sources product, which can be challenging due to infrastructure, availability of raw materials, availability of skilled labor. So, Alok has a lot more information on where firms are actively expanding and the impacts.
This is one of the most significant movements that we have seen this year. Sourcing is moving out of China. More than 64% of PPI 100 suppliers say that they are actively expanding their sourcing beyond China. The new sourcing map includes Vietnam, India, Mexico, and even the United States as a local sourcing. These regions are seen as a more stable options. The change is not only the cost. Firms want predictability, fewer custom issues, and greater transparency for their clients. The distributor are also feeling it too. We are hearing more distributors saying that their clients are asking where the products are being made. This is especially common in the government and the financial industries. Buyer group in these category are asking for US or Canada made products more often. So the pressure is being passed down the chain. One of the suppliers did tell us in the last 6 months they moved 40% of their bag and apparel programs to Vietnam and Mexico, not only because of tariff, but because they wanted a multi-region pipeline that gives them compliance and also the supply chain control. This is not just a tactical adjustment. I think this is a long-term strategy shift that the many firms that we are looking at. Our PPI predictions, tariff escalation will drive more suppliers in diversifying sourcing by end of 2025. We expect a permanent move away from China to increase both in terms of volume and visibility. This will reshape how industry thinks about the global sourcing over the next 2 years. Over to you, Melissa.
Thank you. So buyers are demanding more than just products, right? So the industry continues to evolve, but the buyer landscape also continues to evolve. I think distributors, more than anyone, are well aware that buyers are also everyday consumers who want transparency. They want to know where the products are made, they want to know about ESG compliance, and they want speed. And distributors are expected to be well versed and provide answers swiftly and with accuracy. And these answers are impacting real buying decisions. So, Alok, what are we seeing beyond just this shift?
The data shows the shift is not just growing, it's accelerating. More than half of PPI 100 distributor report the clients asking for faster fulfillment and more tailored product solutions. Roughly 36% uh, of, of the buyers are asking for proof where the products have been made. About 31% are being asked to explain the ESG or sustainability practices. This is not just a trend, this is a reset of what client expects. One of the distributors did tell us that they used to win on price and delivery. Now the question is, where is it made? How fast can we get it with documentation? This is just not a procurement question, they are brand risk questions. A Fortune 500 client recently asked one of the distributors to remove all China made drinkware from their holiday program, not because of the cost, but to avoid any negative reactions from employees or in the media. In other case, we also heard that the state government buyer required written assurance on the labor practices before approving a bulk apparel order. This is a kind of requirement where was a rare few years ago. Now it's showing up as more often. A 2024 Deloitte CMO survey shows 61% of marketers now rank supplier transparency as their top selection factor. So buyers are under pressure too. Marketing, procurement, compliance, all of them are watching what gets ordered from and from where. If you cannot deliver fast and clean, you risk being replaced. Our predictions are firm that cannot meet these rising expectations will lose share to those that can. Distributor who build a supply chain visibility and offer more personalized service will stand out. The new value prop is speed, clarity, and responsibility.
So yeah, I think Alok stole my line there a little bit, but this is kind of parlays into fulfillment, right? It's now a core value proposition. So we just spoke earlier a little bit about buyer expectations, and despite supply chain challenges and things that are happening, the expectation is that distributors deliver, and they're judged by their ability to deliver. It is where trust is built or broken, and we're starting to see an increase in collaboration here with end buyers as well as with the suppliers. But there's more that can be done, and so Alok's going to walk us through some of the data behind this shift.
Yeah, more than 38% of PPI 100 distributors say logistics issues are still disrupting the timelines and increasing cost. Even when supplier carry or the carriers are the cause, the distributor who gets the call, right? So more than 65% say that they are expanding or diversifying. Yeah, more than 65% are saying that they are expanding or diversifying the supplier base to be more resilient. Nearly 60% are now collaborating more closely with suppliers on demand forecasting. About 32% are increasing inventory buffers or pre-ordering stocks to stay ahead, but only 16% have a stronger contract or SLA in place, which shows there is still room to build a better supplier collaboration. So, fulfillment is now a client-facing experience. What used to be a background function is now part of the client journey. One of the PPI distributor told us that they missed a delivery deadline on a major employee given program, even though the issue was with the supplier. Their client shifted 60% of their future orders to a competitor. This is how quickly a fulfillment problem can become and kind of impact their revenue. So, according to Capgemini's 2025 research, 72% of B2B buyers say fulfillment reliability is more important than price when it comes to repeat business. So our prediction here is distributor will invest more in supplier partnership, inventory visibility, and regional warehousing. What used to be a supply chain management is now a competitive differentiator.
So I think, if anything, this industry continues to prove its resilience, and resilience will continue to define the winners. So what we're seeing is a fundamental shift in how firms think about readiness. Firms that are strategically building the foundation, whether it be supply chain and logistical modeling or process efficiencies, they're building that out so that they are prepared before the problem shows up. So in this environment, the most resilient firms are not just the biggest, right? They're the ones that are really setting themselves today up for future success. And Alok, I know you've got some great stats on this, so I'll let you take the lead here.
Yeah, resilience is becoming a strategy that sets leaders apart. Half of the top suppliers have now adapted to tools that improve inventory visibility and ESG certification. One third are, piloting onshore or nearshore sourcing models to reduce exposure to risk. Among distributors, 60% say that they are collaborating more closely with uh, uh, suppliers on forecasting, and 65% are now diversifying their supplier base on gain flexibility and protect fulfillment reliability. So our predictions is firms that invest early in resilience will outperform those still reacting to the disruptions. Or do you,
All
Melissa?
right. Yes, and advocacy is turning strategic, and I think that's where industry alignment is crystal clear. Both suppliers and distributors are calling for focused tariff relief, not just blanket exemptions. The concern is not about avoiding responsibility, it's about protecting key product categories that really fuel our industry, especially those where US production is limited, it's maybe not viable, and the costs are rising fast. So, Alok, what are we hearing from the field on this?
The industry message is sharp and consistent. The advocacy focus is product specific. The PPI 100 data shows most commonly nominated categories for relief includes drinkware, apparels, and tech accessories. These are not fringe items. They are essentials to the major gifting and promotional campaigns. A distributor told us that when drinkware tariffs jumped, their landing cost raised by 38%. The margin loss makes it harder to keep decorating work in the US. For drinkware and electronics are the examples here, right? So there are limited sourcing option outside China. For apparel, United States capacity does not meet volume demands, especially the decorative work on the seasonal timelines. So these tariffs do not, so these tariffs do not just raise prices, they put pressure on value added work that is being done in US. So our prediction, trade policy will become an visible issue inside the industry. More firms will step into advocacy role to protect margin and client value, especially in the category where tariff do not reflect sourcing reality. What do you,
Great.
Melissa?
Thank you, Alok. So I think at this point, we've gone through a lot of the key trends so far that we've seen that are going to reshape the focus for the back half of the year. And I think we want to bring back our esteemed panelists. We've got Jeffrey and Jody joining us back. All
Hi,
right.
Melissa. Hi, Lok.
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
Great to see.
All right. So let's kick it off with the first question. Jody, we've seen kind of this slow growth and the single digit growth that we talked about, and margins really under pressure. How has this shown up in your business so far?
Yeah, fortunately, Maple Ridge is a little bit of an anomaly. Our traditional Maple Ridge growth has been somewhat modest, still growing, single digit growth in that, but our strategic acquisition of Sweeter Cards really propelled us. We have a 75% increase year over year currently, kind of showing that and proving innovation, storytelling, value, and brand aligned gifting are still key drivers to success, even in a margin compressed environment. Listening to the market and shifting to what the need is and acquiring that lower price point of a very high quality item has positioned us for some major success. So we're extremely fortunate for that move.
Great. So having those kind of good, better, best options for people seems to be working well for you.
Yeah, we've segmenting the market price points has been very important to us all along. But that Sweeter Cards acquisition and really filling that hole with a beautiful
Sure.
opportunity for an emotionally connecting item worked well for us.
Great. And Jeffrey, what specific steps have you guys taken to protect profitability while continuing to serve your clients?
Alok raised a lot of really good points around how service is changing. And I think, look, if I look at some of the predictions, what I would say as we look at it, Halo, is some of these, the points that you're making are getting accelerated and that they've really been building for, I don't know, years. I would say maybe close to 5 years for us. I think the biggest thing that we've invested in, and Melissa, to answer your point around profitability, is we've been investing in what I'll call value-added services for a number of years. And so there's a pretty wide range of things from, Luke mentioned fulfillment is clearly becoming a key differentiator, but there is likely 20, key components to servicing clients and deals where I think for Halo, the way we think about it is the value added services that we're able to provide. I mean, that's where you're starting to really preserve profit and margin. It's a little bit harder, obviously, as you go through March and April and economic, with uncertainty and people are making decisions about tariffs. And we've seen that come back. I would just say, in general, in terms of managing profit, it's making longer term investments in value added services that has been a key differentiator for our company. And I've seen that obviously throughout the industry.
Great. So kind of that value added services, the expansion of price points. I mean, all that makes sense to make sure you've got offerings to support what the market wants. Um, Jody, what are there any additional steps you guys have maybe taken to protect profitability at Maple Ridge or things you wanted to share
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, great. I mean, I love the question, and same as Jeffrey's response with Alok, protecting that profit. Last year, we really tapped into budget, which was interesting. It's not that we didn't have to do it before, we just wanted to have a different approach, and it was pretty eye-opening. Back in 2008, I think we took our financial statements to the team, to our entire full-time team, and we're like, where can we cut? Where can we grow? Where can we play offense? And where can we play defense? As you know, if you just play defense, it's not a strategy. So you need to really run that offense well. So I think streamlining operations and introducing that broader segmented market price into different gift categories without compromising the brand experience is big, but really using tools like AI to help with training modules, growth and development plans. Because as Alok said, there's a new buyer era. If we are not aligned with that as a supplier to feed relatable data to our distributors, they're not going to be able to have the conversations
Sure.
that will invite us into the playground. So, um, using AI to really help us work on sales strategies, personalizing our pipeline marketing, prioritizing an infrastructure to support scaling, again, while remaining authentic. We're an old fashioned company as far as service and how we treat employees and our customers. It's really important to us to remain authentic. So, small strategic shifts help us maintain that margin while expanding access. And to not get off on a tangent, but to get on a small tangent, you talk about what helps you. It's usually not one big mind blowing idea, it is small daily disciplines. And Jeff and I had this conversation. So you've got James Clear with Atomic Habits. His goal was to continue to find those 1% improvements that are sometimes overlooked or unexpected. And these improvements compound vastly over time,
Sure.
right? And when you show up with these small discipline and daily habits, you will see big changes from looking at your budget to streamlining where a PO is sent and how it's sent. Um, I cannot focus enough on daily disciplines. And we introduced that to many different departments within our company. And it was a little painstaking at first to look at, but the practice of introducing where a small daily habit can take you was quite inspirational and it created movement. So it became a verb and we loved it. So I'd say protecting is also growing and there's a fine line between it and you need a team of people to make that happen.
Absolutely. Jeffrey, I would imagine there's been some things from an efficiency standpoint that Halo has done as well to try to combat that outside of the value added services. Any other color you'd like to add there?
Look, I think Jody covered a lot of the smart things. I think what I'm seeing in the market is that it's interesting seeing a lot of the what Alok kind of identified. I think about a lot of us have experienced a lot of change in the supply chain in the last 3 or 4 months. I would be careful to extrapolate all of it as this is going to be what the rest of the year looks like or next year. I think what we're seeing a lot more of right now, and this is where we're calibrated, is that businesses in the market seem to be back on offense to some degree. There's a healthy stock market. You're seeing pent up, I think, demand from clients who have been kind of weighing where to go and kind of seeing this through. Europe has an agreement that's come through, obviously, this week. I think when we think about efficiency, I would be really careful about efficiency in terms of preservation versus trying to be on offense and trying to capture demand. I think there's a unique opportunity for the industry to really be on offense right now, and we've seen that come through in late Q2 or in this month. So to me, like efficiency, obviously, of managing through a lot of uncertainty, but I think just being on offense and reading the market and knowing that clients, we're seeing a lot more requests sort of in the last, I'd call it 45, 60 days. So just kind of being efficient in terms of go to market, a lot of the stuff that Jody's mentioning,
Sure.
but playing that tactic.
Great. Great. And really for either of you, when we hear about the buyers asking for more transparency, right? Because it impacts both sides of the coin here. What do you hear? What are you hearing most often from your clients right now, Jeffrey? And same to you, Jody. What are you hearing through distributors?
Yeah, I'll take this one first. You guys mentioned it, the upfront and the trends, like speed, transparency. That is accelerating, right? That's paramount and that's top of mind, and so much of that is being driven by strategic procurement and marketing. I mean, they are just really looking to do more with less, trying to maximize the investment that they have. When they go, any of us, when we go to our CEOs and CFOs, they are looking to justify their vendor purchases and selection. And so there is a lot of pressure on teams and buying teams to be able to ensure that they're getting the return they want on their brand solutions. So we see a lot of things in terms of, and this is the first part of your question, we see a lot of things in terms of trends around, we may not need 3 or 4 different vendors. We want 1 or 2, so vendor consolidation. We want to see the cost, we want to see more transparency around cost. We want to understand your service models for us with specificity around who is working on various projects and deals and accounts. And I think about, I'm a marketer for Halo, and I run our business. I run our marketing side of our business, and a lot of it really has to do with their ultimate goals. Like, of course, the supply chain is important and where they get it, but they are looking to activate their brand. They're looking for speed to market. They're looking to generate, and run their business and operate their business. And I think specific to like what the buyers are really requesting, it's in those areas where we're really having to partner with them and show them what the return on all of this spend and how we're kind of partnering with them to develop their brand. On the second piece of it, I think our data matches a lot with what was shared. I think on the volume of requests that we get in deals in terms of more contractual RFPs, things of that sort, probably about half on sustainability. We're getting questions around what's your certification, where are your products sourced from, et cetera. Very similar to kind of what was shared. I think another emerging one, although still I call it the minority of the volume that we're getting, is and Terry McGuire on our team who runs supplier relations, he's done an excellent job, is sort of where are the items coming from, carbon accounting, how are you measuring it, what third parties are you using? That's, I would say, more and more emerging for us, and he's an expert on it, and he's done a fantastic job. A lot more of the global brands and clients are really the ones that are obviously asking those questions.
Right.
And particularly as it relates to their operations in Europe. But I think, transparency and speed and results, I mean, this is what most teams want to see that we're working with around the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. Jody, anything that you're seeing, any nuances there in what you're seeing on your end?
Sure. Yeah, 2 things. There have been the language that's been used throughout this webinar so far has been delightful. We could create a new era seller buyer dictionary for the industry, piggybacking off of some of what Alok and Melissa have used. But Jeffrey, you used the word investment. And many times we talk about spend or budget or where's the money going, but switching language
Yep.
to adapt and create a mindset within a buyer is so vital. So I love that you use the word investment and brand solutions, right? So important. Um, Post tariff volatility really prioritize client needs. And so you've seen a lot of shifts after pandemic and then tariff. So it's given a lot of people the opportunity to flex their agility and resilience and where we take it from there. So not anything new necessarily, but pricing and speed now dominate conversations. I think it's Sam at Bamco has a great social feed, and um, she had this toy that she put on her social page, and it showed the slider move from price, quality, and speed. And every time you moved one of them, you couldn't get all of them, right? So it was so fascinating to watch. ESG requests for us have dipped. The sustainability conversation still simmers. It's a little bit below the surface. And not that I'm making a food plug, but for us, again, looking at certifications, food is real sustainable. It's consumed, not discarded. They don't go to waste, they eliminate. But it makes food kind of the OG of the eco-conscious promo partner in a way.
Yeah.
um, so pricing and speed dominate the conversations. So what does that do for us? As Jeff said, tying back to something he said earlier, and which I had brought up, is get on the offense. It changes the way you sell and converse with the customers and how you operate, which we can get into a little bit later. But you need the agility to be able to flex and flow and jump ahead versus let these challenges be your barrier. And you're not even hurdling them, you're finding a new way around the track.
Yeah, I want to pull that thread a little bit on kind of the ROI, right? Of
Yes.
what we all do and what we're here for, right? So when you talk about maybe not your specific category, Jody, but Jeffrey, there is definitely, I think, that need for us to start talking about promo in a way that that is kind of getting to all of the other within all the other marketing mediums. It is it's obviously a very effective way, and adding on that ESG component on top of it, right, to also make sure that we're answering the question about the longevity of it, and that it isn't just a throwaway. Maybe take me through a little bit of that, Jeffrey, from your perspective, what you see there, what you guys maybe have done, or what you think is working to kind of hone in on that specific aspect.
So I'll start with where a lot of the value is developed, where a lot of the value for the client really originates with. For us, sales teams and account executives. And so in a lot of ways, like when there's a lot of value creation, it's not a commodity based transaction where they're just sort of, it's a market. They are getting to there's superpower in so many ways in this industry. And for Halo, uh, they get to the heart and soul of really where the ROI is for the customer. I mean, that is where so much value is developed. And it's an incredible partnership that our team has with our sales teams and account executives, and of course, other distributors and their sales teams as well. I mean, that's really where there's so much value. ESG and specifically, I mean, that is where it's not ESG for ESG's sake, but the reason that I see it is because what ends up happening is the businesses have to serve consumers, and ultimately that market where they're serving consumers, the consumer cares about that.
Hmm.
And so, there's a business and there's uh, for most different companies have different approaches to this, but there'll be a business and there'll be a business rationale, consumer rationale, and they may have a moral rationale to some degree.
Sure.
And so I think about for our business, what we're doing, and this is one component of, I would call a full service or solution offering, is being able to provide that transparency. And so we'll do our own annual ESG report. We'll develop our own certifications. We'll be able to train and educate our sales teams and account executives. We'll provide expertise when deals come in that we can speak with authority on how products are being sourced. And so I think about it, Melissa, is that ESG is it's critical to a set of companies, but it's among a cohort of a lot of capabilities that they're looking at. And ultimately, the value is being unlocked so much by the relationships that are being cultivated by account executives and distributors and sales teams in this industry.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Building that trust. Yeah, I think
that's
that relates back to the resilience piece, Alok, that you had brought up, right? I mean, I think that's building that foundation of resilience. So makes sense. Um, when we look about, and Jody, you touched on this a little bit about how you've started to adapt your sales conversations and internal processes. Is there anything else that's kind of relevant to what we went through today that's started to shape how you're approaching that a little bit differently?
Sure, I like that. I like that. Relevant to today. Someone said, I heard in a conversation in a strategy call, we're consultative salespeople, and I was like, is that relatable? Is that really a word that works any longer? Is that really how we sell? We've opened this vulnerable space of selling so that we could get to transparency and help overcome barriers, but sometimes losing sight of the fact that it's a marketing medium and you don't want to just take the order. You're not just selling product. There is trust involved. So embracing two different selling styles, such as co-creation and insight selling, you're shedding unexpected insights to help the buyer overcome barriers and uncover unknown needs. That's nothing mind blowing, but when you teach a sales team to think as such, you're creating a whole new atmosphere of transparency. You're showing how this marketing medium becomes a solution through brand activations.
Mhm.
You know, gifting fatigue can set in, and it's our job to help distributors like Jeff and others help them rise above the noise so that we can be relatable partners with genuine approaches on all levels. So that would be one part of the conversation. And that's, face to face, email, how you show up in social. But then again, the tools that we give our customers are launch ready. So it's white glove service. We've streamlined solutions in our marketing field that essentially frees up your time as a distributor, which what? Increases profitability. And it creates an experience that is designed to just really propel the end buyer's brand forward. So, what does that mean? It means it drives confidence and it builds trust. And those are two of our core pillars that we want to continue moving forward in providing a solution and creating value. Because if we're not creating value, we're just another product.
Yep.
And same with Jeff, we may get asked questions. And when it's brought to the table, to have a conversation that's transparent and honest and vulnerable while we're all trying to drive profitability, but creating this epic, momentous moment for this end buyer for a brand recall, if the value is not there, we're nothing.
Makes sense. Um, Jeffrey, maybe, and this can go for both of you, but is there an example of maybe a client request that forced you to think differently or improve your approach?
yeah. I think on a great question. We work with a range of different clients, small, medium-sized businesses, Fortune 1000 clients. I think what we're starting to see more of, and it goes back to this theme of transparency, is Fortune 500, 1000 customers. Specific to this, we have an example where a client came to us and they really wanted specificity around who was working on an account. And so when you look at, when we discuss with the client, they want to know not just who the account rep would be or what the shared services would look like, but who is my art director? How much time is the marketing lead spending on this account to help us maximize the awareness of this program? Who's the creative team, the account management team? Who can I rely on from a merchandising standpoint, and on down the list? And I think, that really has an impact on hiring plans. It has an impact on fee models, service models, et cetera. And I think we'll see more of that And that's really, I think, part of it is that service. And Jody really has touched on this. It's like service is the premium. Clients are willing to pay because their brands are so, at the end of the day, their brands are so critical to being able to develop their business. And so they need really exceptional service. And I think, and in some ways, um, I mean, the client is one of several that we've seen recently that are, getting more and more detailed and itemized in terms of how that service is provided.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. Jody, do you have anything similar to share?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're going to talk success story wise or philosophy, which would you like?
You
A
tell
little
me. You
of
can a little
both.
bit of both. Let's do a little bit of both.
So success story, client comes in and says, shoot, man, we sent out these gift cards from a credit union and they didn't work. And it was, let me look at the number, 18,460. 18,460 cards. What can you do? This has to be quick, strategic, delivered hard. So we used a sweeter card. Um, and they created some brilliant art that said, sweet things are coming, showing them how to reactivate the brand, building trust once again, and when they could use the card. So that's one example. But the turnaround time for that was like 5 working days. I don't want to promote that we can do everything in 5 working days.
I
But what
heard
we
I heard overnight, right? 24
yeah.
hours? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think what it goes back to is much of what Alok had mentioned, Jeff is talking about. Agility means preparing systems, right? That can flex as the market moves and demands ebb and flow. Resilience means having the infrastructure and the mindset to withstand all of these unexpected changes. So, I mean, the philosophy behind much of what we do, because this story that I showed you, that I just talked about, is not uncommon. So, when you're like, bring a success story, um, we are so fortunate to have a team that can ebb and flow the way that it does with our community. But what we see is every market disruption creates an opportunity, right? And an opportunity that someone is going to seize and they're going to emerge stronger than they had ever imagined. The question that we need to take as suppliers is, what are we learning now? What's important to take? And what do you leave at the wayside in order to seize the opportunities and prepare with resilience and agility for that next virtuous cycle ahead? For us to be able to manage these quick turnaround times that are extremely meticulous, um, you've got to stay grounded, have purpose without panic, listen to what matters most, and shift into action, positioning yourself for that transformation. And that's very challenging to do if you're not utilizing all of the tools around you
Yeah.
and really listening. I actually went into some research to see if active listening was out of date, if there's a better way to say it. What's the new term? Is there a new trend word? Some action item verb that we should be using for this? But it's not, it is still active listening. So I see Jeff nodding, like, yes, it's very important to have in conversation.
Yeah. Both of you touched a little bit on kind of continuing to build that trust, the accountability, the transparency. One of the things we kind of a little covered before, but when we talk about even forecasting visibility and transparency and that kind of relationship between end buyer, distributor, supplier, is there anything there that you guys are seeing a trend and an uptick in wanting to collaborate more in that area? Because the stats, and Alok, keep me honest here, but I think the stats were fairly low in terms of maybe 16% having SLAs in place around that. So curious your thoughts on that.
I can tap into that one first.
Sure.
So the joke here was it's a tightrope walker. It's harmony in action. You know, there is a delicate line. Vendors demand a higher minimum order quantity on our behalf, longer lead times, and customers, what do they want? Faster delivery and lower minimums. So our solution really is over communication, clear forecasting, inventory investments, and again, those transparent co-insight conversations with the customers is vital to be able to have those deep conversations. That collaboration, really uncovering value and opportunity, understanding budget pressures and profitability demands, wait and see. But that collaboration fuels elevation. So if we are not collaborating, we lower our standards. If we collaborate, we all rise together. It's very important to have communication.
I would echo all of those comments, and I would say on two levels. I would assume that it's higher than 16%, even though people don't know that they may already be doing it. If you have, for a lot of transactional, I call them transactional projects. Someone has an event year after year, and someone is still distributing product and helping them get set up. We see it in our business, and I would assume that it's happening in other businesses, or it's best practice. You're being proactive and transparent with the client ahead of time, and sort of seeing the changes and being able to bring them, not just alternatives, but options of how to kind of think about their sourcing strategy and help set them up for success. I think on a lot of the contractual business, some of the more complex, that's where we have a really incredible team that is looking at inventory. It is more sophisticated inventory reporting, transparency, and looking at inventory turns and working on alternatives and working with the client directly on as a partner, really, and saying, hey, here's how the store should be running. There's the budget. Here's the product assortment. Here is your inventory trends. And that's really what a lot of clients and buyers want to see, so they can maximize their investment.
Yeah. Great. Switching gears a little bit and talking more on the advocacy side now, if you guys could highlight one product category that deserves relief or support, and Jody, this might be a little bit, I don't know, slighted in your way, but which one would it be and why?
My passive approach to this would be chocolate. Chocolate deserves advocacy. However, that is not me, promoting for the greater good of what we're trying to accomplish today. So if you're talking, I'll say at the PPAI level, what deserves advocacy is education. Educating a new era buyer mentality, strategy, measuring, providing infrastructure that can support that type of growth. And at the legislative level, education, once again. However, what I've found is, and thank goodness for Kara Keister, who has walked me through so much. I got to participate and lead one year, and that was fantastic. PPI team was great. They had me on a rookie panel at Leadership Development Conference one year, which was exciting. But what I found is it's really important to get local. And we all think it happens in DC. It's really vital to even get involved in your local community. And that's where you're really going to propel change and get educated. And that's where the difference starts, is at home. So the more we can educate the entire system, it comes down to education.
Okay. Jeffrey.
In a prior life, I worked for a large candy company for over a decade. I'm partial to candy too, Jody.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, exactly. I think from a product standpoint, it's close to 13 cents of every dollar is spent on drinkware and electronics. Those are highly concentrated products produced in China. They need stable supply chain, stable tariffs, and I think that's, and I'll speak just on drinkware, and Aaron Kanata on my team, we talked about this. We both really, there's consumer insights that drive the category. You've got health and wellness trends, you've got status, you've got retail brands that have driven a lot of the exceptional growth that we've all seen. And then it's obviously created a lot of innovation in that category and growth over the last 5 years. To me, the organization certainly should be advocating for certain product categories and being able to ensure stability. I think about, we want to maintain in this industry as much growth, obviously, as we can. It's going to come from that level of stability. My kids, I mean, I think about just them and seeing what they want and the innovation that's come out of that category. We'd love to see it keep rolling. And that's, I think, where we can have as as much advocacy as we can about certain categories, particularly as industry as a whole. We'd all thrive.
Yeah. So, Alok, I'm going to put you on the hot seat a little bit since you lead the advocacy area with Rachel here for PPAI. But tell us kind of how many members are involved and any additional color on kind of where Jody went.
Absolutely. I think PPI is actively encouraging members to get involved in the advocacy program. So we are working very closely with regional associations as well. So anybody, I mean, you don't need to be a policy experts. What matters most is showing that our industry supports the local job, drives small business to growth, or facing real challenges that like tariff or regulatory shifts. We are here to help you out. We are here to help you set up meeting. And now it's time for August recess meeting there where you can meet your local, kind of lawmakers in your hometown and putting a face local to the national issues we are advocating for. And then, no one does better than our members. So we are promoting this. We are here. We have a TRP as a consultant. PPI partners with TRP, who is an advocacy experts. We can pull them in for expert advice as well. We are here to support. We are here to craft the message for our members. Do reach out to us, and then we can help you out accordingly.
Thanks, Alok. We did get a question coming in, so I did want to kind of ask the question around this consultative strategy. So are we seeing a shift, right, in just order takers, reactive versus that consultation strategy? And Jody, you touched on this a little bit, but if you want to maybe add a little bit more there for them.
Sure. Yeah. So, as far as consultative selling and shifting to that co-creation and insight selling, it is training your team on how to have the conversations. So it's a different mindset that you're going into. And if you give me the opportunity, Melissa, maybe we could do a book giveaway because I have an extra copy. Think Again by Adam Grant. It challenges you to rethink what you think you know. It was a great mindset shift in order for us to be able to open up how to show customers, to show value, and again, rise above the noise and talk to your customers in a relatable way. It doesn't need to be on-trend language, but it needs to be selling solutions and value that we're offering, not just product. We're a marketing medium. We're a brand vessel. What's the message?
Got it. So yeah, Jeffrey, anything?
Yeah, I'll just add to it. Jody has such an open mindset. I love it. It's highly energizing, and it's exactly what we talk about, in all of our partnerships and discussions with our reps and our clients. I'll add to it as well. I think this is an important point: is that the industry is not a one size fits all, and I think and we work with a lot of different sales teams that service different clients, have different needs, service different industries, have different verticals, we talk, we know different partners that are different sizes. We see different partners that are different sizes. I think there's a really robust, thriving industry. And I think when we say things like it's up or down or et cetera, I would encourage us as we think about it. There's nuance, obviously, to it, depending on where you participate in this industry. There is a need for, just like in marketing agencies or other different industries that service kind of the marketing space, there's, boutique agencies. There's a need for that. There's a need for complexity, complex solutions. There's a need for someone who's great in a certain vertical, may not be great in another vertical. I think, you try to build your business in some ways where you have a competitive edge. I agree with Jody and you, Melissa, that clearly the clients are driving a lot of this over the last several years, but I also think there's a lot of space for a really healthy industry, a lot of innovation here, and I'm pretty optimistic about a lot of the insights that were shared on the call. I think there's a great platform that we have here to create value for clients ultimately.
Yeah, great. So as we look into the second half of 2025, it seems like you both still remain pretty bullish, and kind of honing in on that resiliency, which is great to see. Um, I want to thank you both for your time, Alok, for all your great insights. And I want to do a shameless plug for some upcoming events we have. We'll have a member town hall coming up on August 14th. Then we have LDC, PPI Summit, and obviously Expo, which is crazy, but we're talking about it. So thank you guys again so much for your time and your insights. It's been delightful to see you and have you on, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Thank you
Wonderful to be
so
here. Thank
much.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.